Hi, I'm Brian Lofton, and I'm out here on my balcony with a lot of ambient noise. There's crickets, birds, and construction stuff going on. But it's a beautiful day, and I wanted to take a moment to discuss technique. Technique, as we use it in our world today, it usually refers to a method of doing the thing. A stroke in massage therapy, maybe the technique of how to insert a needle into a point in acupuncture. A technique could be anything. It could be a punch in martial arts. It could be a kick in martial arts. When I was younger, I went to Georgia State University and I was a piano major in school. And technique was not a thing. It wasn't a way of pressing a key. It wasn't a way of playing a chord. Technique was considered the sum of your ability to incorporate all the elements that you learn into a piece of music, into a tangible, coherent, articulated, felt experience through the music. So the technique was the sum of your ability to play scales, your ability to play trills, chords, arpeggios, and then also be able to do that not only with one hand but with the other hand, and then to put that all together in time with the music. So where I come from in my musical background, technique is all about the sum total of what you can do, essentially. So in cranial work, in elemental craniosacral work that I teach, we have the techniques are presented as we normally conceive of them as the CV4 or the temporal palming technique or a two-handed sacrum contact. Those are presented as techniques because that's how we know them. But I think it's really important that we get beyond even the semantics of the word technique into what it really, I think, ought to mean, which is how we work. And I think that's really the distinction between elemental craniosacral work and not just other styles of cranial work, but other forms of body work too. It's a way. It's very Taoist. It's not necessarily, let's go from A to B. It's how do we get from A to B, because that is where the healing happens. The technique is what happens between the notes, between the A and the C sharp. The pause that someone may have, as a musician may have, that the violinist slides silently up into that C sharp, and then maybe pings off an A above, and then comes back down to an E, and then through F natural up to F sharp, and now we're in D major. So the technique is how something is done rather than that something is done. When we listen to a wonderful piece of music, it's the spaces between the music that draw us in. When we look at a beautiful piece of art, it's oftentimes what's not done that is the art, that is the real substance of the piece. So we can say something, we can demonstrate something, but underneath that is where the real meaning is. And we all know from personal experience what it means when someone says something to us and they're yelling, or when they're saying something to us, the exact same words, and they're whispering. There's a different way. So when I teach my students techniques, I'm teaching them the contact. I'm teaching them the form. But they and the space between them and the client, that is the container in which elemental craniosacral work lives and breathes. When we go out into the woods, when we go out onto the plains, we go out onto an open meadow, we feel the space, and we flock to those spaces, particularly if we live in the city. We go out to be in those spaces where we can fill in the gaps, where we can fill in with our hearts, with our imagination, we can fill in what the meaning really is. We go to a city, New York City, a wonderful city, and everything around us is telling us what it is. It's this, it's that, it's this, it's that, it's the subway, it's that building, it's that advertisement, it's Times Square, it's this building, it's the World Trade Center Memorial, it's the Empire State Building. but that's not technique, and that's not living. Living is the spaces in between. So that's what I mean by technique. When I teach the contacts in my classes, I am teaching a way of experiencing the space that is created with the contact with the human being. That interface between the hands, between the hand and the body, between the hand and the heart and the mind. It's not about the bones, not about the sutures. It's not about the blood. It's not about the spinal fluid. It's not about the meninges. It's not about the ligaments. It's not about the tendons. It's about you, and it's about me. It's about us. Relationships. Everything is about relationship. So you see, technique is a really important word. When I see a musician who has good technique, they affect me. Overall technique, they affect me. Now, someone may be a technician, they may be highly skilled at all of their musical vocabulary, but if it's not coherent, I don't consider that good technique. So for our clients, we take these contacts and we make it coherent to them. And that is the art, that is a true art of not just being a good practitioner with elemental cranial work, but also being a good healer in general, a good body worker, a good facilitator for optimal health. Thank you for listening.